Hi, welcome to Kentucky Fried Chronicles with Starvin Marvin here. Got Megan of Trusted Canna Nurse, and thought I'd have her on. She has this company that, well, Megan, tell you what, I'll just let you do a little introduction and tell the people what you're all about.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Megan Mbengue. I'm the founder and CEO of Trusted Canna Nurse, where we teach people how to use both cannabis and psychedelics as medicine. So in addition to cannabis and psychedelic education and consultations and guidance, we also have a line of really high quality therapeutic hemp products that we developed ourselves and we offer nationwide. And I have a master's degree in medical cannabis therapeutics, and I've been a nurse for 12 years now.
Well, good. So tell me your background, like specifically what got you started with the company itself and getting into specifically cannabis and nursing?
Yeah, so I was a nurse. I was a hospice nurse, and I was not a regular cannabis consumer myself. I don't have a chronic illness, and I was a travel nurse, so I had to pee in a cup every 3 months. So it just wasn't something that was like ever on my radar. Plus, we were taught in nursing school that it was bad. So it was brand new to me. But I had this hospice patient who was having seizures, and she was on 5 or 6 different seizure medications, and she was still having seizures. And I had read the headlines that cannabis and CBD were supposed to help. I had heard some stories, and the family wanted to try, but I had like no idea what to give her or how to dose her or anything like that. So I saw this like dire need for somebody who knows both the medical side and the cannabis side to be able to help guide patients on how to use it the right way to manage their conditions or their symptoms. So that was 3 years ago now.
Oh, that's good. What got me interested in cannabis, my senior year of school, I did a paper on it. My family had been affected by Alzheimer's and dementia, and I decided to do I just recently started smoking it between junior and senior year, and I'd seen something that they were going to be trying to use cannabis to treat Alzheimer's and dementia, and at the time, my grandfather had passed away from it, and then later on, my grandmother, his wife, and their daughter, actually, all three were
Wow.
affected by Alzheimer's or dementia in some shape, form, or fashion, and so that really got me interested in looking at it, and over and above the recreational use, like I'm seeing that this is actually something that can help people. So that's kind of what got me started wanting to do this kind of thing. So what role does a cannabis nurse play in helping patients integrate cannabis into their treatment plans?
Oh my gosh, cannabis nurses play probably like one of the most critical roles in helping patients through this. So it's our job to not only know about cannabis and how it works in the body to manage conditions and symptoms, know all the routes of administration, dosing, all that, but it's also our job to like look at the patient as a whole and look at their endocannabinoid system. How can we support and nourish the ECS with or without the use of cannabis? And we are looking at the patient as a whole being, and we're looking at their gut health, we're looking at their diet, their movement patterns and exercise. And what we're doing is educating them on how they can make changes in their life, may or may not include plant medicine, but how they can use the medicine appropriately, but also support their own endocannabinoid system to help manage their symptoms.
Yeah. So you go, you're not just using THC, you're using the full plant, all the different CBD, CBG, all that.
Mm-hmm.
How have you seen, tell me some success stories that you've seen with using.
God, so many success stories. I'll start with a cancer patient that we have. She's been a patient for, I think, coming up on 2 years now. She was a veteran and is a veteran and has
Hmm.
sarcoma that's resistant to chemotherapy related to some toxic exposure while she was in the service. And it can't be removed with surgery. So she's been doing high dose CBD and CBG, and her tumor has been shrinking. So that's been really exciting to see. And yes, we work mostly with CBD and CBG and other minor cannabinoids. Everything we has a small amount of THC, but we don't work with high THC very often, like rarely at all. So that's a cancer patient. We have, let's see here. I do have another patient of ours has osteoarthritis, and he's been using our tinctures. He started with our high CBD tincture and then changed to our Thrive XL, which is the one we did in collaboration with Gilbert Brown, a former NFL player and Super Bowl champion. So that has high dose CBD, CBG, CBDA, CBGA, and some targeted terpenes. And he uses that. He doesn't have to be on his NSAIDs anymore. And he's so supportive of it that he told his doctor, and now his doctor sends their patients to us for both cannabis and psilocybin, which is really, really cool to have that out here.
Yeah, psilocybin. Glad you brought that up. How does that play in? Like, what are you using that for?
Yeah. So psilocybin, when we're talking about that, we're talking about, magic mushrooms. And what we do with
Right.
our clients is mostly microdosing. So we offer microdosing programs where we teach people how to microdose the right way. That's, the up and coming thing in mental health. There are lots of studies to support psilocybin therapy for various things, like helping with addiction and working through trauma and PTSD and OCD and anxiety and depression. And we teach people how to microdose the right way. And it's been phenomenal to see the outcomes in our clients, helping people with things from anxiety and depression, things that they are studied for, all the way to like chronic pain. We're seeing phenomenal results in our chronic pain patients as well. For example, over the summer, we did a microdosing group. We offer like one-on-one and group programs where we meet weekly and people talk through their process and how things are changing with them. And one of these people has been on disability for 30 years because of her pain. And she started microdosing, and she's like 63, and she's back in the workforce now because her pain is managed from microdosing mushrooms. And it's so exciting to see the changes happen in people because of this.
That's awesome. I know I've brought up psilocybin therapy in conversation with family members and people, and like you said, it's magic mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
That's where people first think, when they hear that, that's where they go to. Oh, it's not going to do anything, and you're going to trip, and then I'm trying to tell them, like, no, it's micro dosing. You're not taking a heavy dose, and it's over time, and it's worked out. So that's something that I'm really intrigued by. And then I've heard of ibogaine being used to do some similar kind of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Ryan and I've heard Joe Rogan, I think, just had someone on his show the other day talking about it. But
yeah, I don't know much about ibogaine. I know that like it is much higher risk than psilocybin. You can't lethally overdose from psilocybin.
right,
The majority of people are not becoming addicted to it. But I believe that ibogaine needs to be used like in very specific monitored clinical settings, kind of like ketamine. But again, I don't know
yeah,
enough to speak on it.
yeah. I've heard there's some cardiology kind of
Mm-hmm.
complications really with the heart. But okay, so how do you help patients navigate the legal and social stigmas of cannabis use? Like I've heard you say that older patients are the fastest growing
Mm-hmm.
group of people that are coming to use cannabis. How do you help someone who may be an older lady that goes to church or something like that? How do you navigate that?
Yeah. It's really, really interesting. You know, I do a lot of work with older adults in that population. Many of them have prohibition like in their DNA. You know, they don't know anything other than like cannabis is this dangerous, addictive medication that turns our brain into scrambled eggs. And it's in a way, it's a little bit fun because I get to turn their world upside down and show them that things that they may be taking or doing on a daily basis are far more dangerous than taking a CBD tincture that has a little bit of THC in it. And this tincture is going to be far more effective than a lot of medications that they might be taking. At managing their pain and inflammation. So it really is all about education and empowerment. We are not, you know, I don't come at it from a sales pitch perspective. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to educate and empower so that they can make an informed decision about what they want to do for themselves. And there are some people, it's like I think there are people in all generations that are very like they're not gonna, it's too much. It's like they can't comprehend cannabis being a medicine or anything like that, so they're never going to change. I think unfortunately we probably have some of those dinosaurs in our government that are like that, but hopefully as time goes on those people will eventually leave, right? They have to leave eventually, and we'll get some new people in. You would think any day now some of these dinosaurs can go, but yeah, and navigating the legal part of it is you know, that's a challenge, and sometimes we don't always like play in that sandbox. And I know I have to be a little bit cryptic here, but we believe everybody should have access to quality medicine. So that's where we stand. And so we help people with that wherever they're at.
Are there any specific cannabinoids or terpenes that you've been finding that are particularly effective? I know you mentioned some. I've heard of CBV even, and using for weight loss or sugar glucose control or whatever. What's some different things people can be looking for as Kentucky comes and has stuff put on the market?
Let's see here. CBG is my absolute favorite. I don't think that CBG is used enough. CBG is unique because it's the only cannabinoid that acts on these receptors involved in our fight or flight response. So it really helps to calm physical symptoms of anxiety without causing sedation. We have a patient who recently had to go to a doctor. She has a lot of like this medical induced anxiety from medical trauma. And while she was at the doctor, she started having an episode, and she took some of our whole plant CBG instead of a Xanax, and it calmed her so much that the doctor was curious, and she's like showing the doctor, our stuff on our website and teaching the doctor about it. And CBG can also help with pain. It can help with gut inflammation. It's more potent than CBD, so it's going to be more effective at a lower dose. And yeah, I just love CBG. The one you're talking about is THCV, and that's a lot of people are using that for weight loss. That acts opposite on our receptors than THC, so it suppresses appetite. For the most part, it's not impairing. A lot of people like THCV for helping with focus and kind of turning their attention away from food. So then, it suppresses appetite, and just the people eat less, and it can help potentially with insulin sensitivity. Of course, I don't want to make any medical claims about it. Some people lose weight and it helps with their diabetes with THCV, and some people just like how it makes them feel.
Um, what? So, say for instance, if you had a patient that was on some, say like Seroquel or some anxiety and depression meds, propanolol or something like that.
Hmm.
What would be something that someone could go to maybe instead of, or in
Yeah,
replacement of,
yeah.
or even in support of?
Right, right. So we're looking at the symptoms. We're not trying to manage the disease itself. We're just
Hmm.
looking at symptoms. And we take a very individualized approach. We do have a pharmacist on staff to help us navigate some of these medication interactions with people. And, so it depends on what they're trying to manage. So say they have anxiety, and instead of taking Xanax, then we would, maybe suggest trying CBG, um, to see if that would help with their anxiety instead, as well as like what else can we do to bring down your anxiety? What can we do some breath work? Breath work is amazing for anxiety. Can we get you to a sound bath to help regulate your nervous system? All of these other things again that can support the endocannabinoid system.
So you're all about more of a holistic and just including cannabis and psilocybin in with it. Just
Absolutely.
all, yeah.
Yeah, we use it as a tool,
Hmm.
not the only tool. It's just one of many tools, and I think um, that's what a lot of Americans have lost sight of, is like, that we're given a pill for a symptom or a disease, and then we're on that pill for life and we don't do anything else. But can we get away from that? And what are the other tools that we can do that don't involve any sort of medicine, that can help us? And then if we need the support of plant medicine, and sometimes people need pharmaceuticals. Like, we're not completely against pharmaceuticals. We're against pharmaceuticals that don't support us and cause more harm than good.
Yeah. Okay. So the national landscape. What do you expect to see with this coming administration? Do you do you think we'll see any kind of national legislation as far as like making it easier for people to get medicine, like with RFK and what he's talked about, and Trump and stuff? What do you see there?
Yeah, I think that's kind of two separate conversations. What RFK can do, I'm a little bit low key excited on, are we going to see legalization of cannabis and psychedelics under RFK? I don't know how much power he has because it's still regulated under the DEA, right? And I don't know that RFK has any jurisdiction over the DEA. But I think that if we see it move to Schedule 3, that's not going to increase access for people necessarily. It's still going to be, you know, federally challenging to get. And that just means that now we can have a pharmaceutical. Now we can have, ketamine is Schedule 3. So it's going to be something that has to be prescribed. And in order for it to be prescribed, it has to go through the FDA pathway of a medication. And the application for that is, for the application fee alone, on top of the clinical trials and everything, is $4 million. And that's big pharma money, right? And that money is only going to be invested if something can be patented. We can't patent those big, beautiful plants behind you, as like, it's got 500 different chemicals in it. So standardizing it and patenting that is a huge challenge. So we're going to see these isolates and these pharmaceuticals, and it's going to be years before we see them on the market as prescription medications. So I think Schedule 3 is going to be some bullshit that we're going to see.
That's
Um,
how I feel.
yeah. I think that if anything, it's going to help. It's going to help the
It may
market.
be a baby step in the right direction, but
It
it's
is
not
baby
going to
step. We'll
do.
see, 280E will go away. So I think it's going to be easier for cannabis companies to turn a profit, because it's impossible right now with 280E and not being able to deduct so many of the expenses like other businesses. So I think that's going to be the biggest change we'll see, is maybe we'll see more businesses in the green that aren't big MSOs.
Yeah, that was something I found with Kentucky. Just I had a dream that I wanted to start something, but I mean, you can't. The small person can't.
Right, right. They make it impossible. And California legal cannabis is a raging dumpster fire here, because of this, because it's overtaxed. We have some cities are 40% tax that we pay. And like, none of this is going to the local farmers and the local growers that are growing the best medicine and the best plants. It's like, yeah. So that's why sometimes
Yeah.
like the legal sandbox angers me, because of so many of these regulations that don't make sense.
Maybe that's where Doge can come in and cut out some regulations.
Right, right.
um, okay, so what are some methods of delivery? Like, are you suggesting gummies? I heard you mention tinctures.
Mhm.
Are we smoking it, vaping it? What do you
Yeah,
suggest?
my favorite is going to be our tinctures, because our tinctures are combinations of different cannabinoids, CBD, CBG. We have some acids in there, THCV. So I really like that, because people can take that 2 to 3 times a day to manage their symptoms. We do have topicals for like joint pain or like skin issues. Topicals can be fantastic for that. We have suppositories for women or even men, like with pelvic issues or lower back issues. Suppositories can be great. We did a study last year on our suppositories and found that they were 94% of study participants said that it helped with their period pain, which is awesome. And then we have gummies. Gummies are great for long-acting needs like sleep. A lot of people take our Twilight gummies for sleep. Um, as far as like smoking and inhalation, vape pens are not my thing. I have not seen a situation where somebody has needed that much concentrated, isolated THC that's in a vape pen. I've only seen problems from people using vape pens. And actually, there was one time it was like a hospice patient at end of life that I recommended a vape pen for. I do like the use of a dry herb vaporizer, where people are just using fresh whole flower and grinding it up and just heating it up and then inhaling the vapor that comes from that. That's the most gentle on the lungs. You get the benefits of the terpenes. And then smoking, I think, should be, if people need it. I don't agree with people, who are lighting up all day, every day, because that can be hard
Right.
on the lungs after a while.
Yeah, you mentioned the dryer vape. I think that's kind of what Kentucky is wanting to push, because the way I read the bill, it's going to be still illegal to smoke it, and it's going to be for edibles, tinctures, topicals, and then like dry herb vaping. Um, so because you're going to be able to buy flower, but um, can't smoke it.
They
So
really think they can tell people not to roll it up and smoke it.
that's the way I read the bill. The way I've talked to some other people, that's what I've seen, that they're like trying to move in that direction. I know it don't make sense either, but
that's amazing. That's amazing. There's one more way also, is like making a tea. You take the fresh flower and you put it in hot water. You put some fat in there, like cream or milk. And that is a fantastic way to consume and get the benefits of like the whole plant, but you're ingesting it. So it's going to last a little bit longer, and probably hit a little bit stronger too than inhaling.
yeah, I never thought of that. That'd be a good idea.
No, that one is like, I always forget about that one. But making tea is amazing.
So your products are nationally legal, right? Because it's
Yeah,
so you
because
got your
fall
stuff on your website.
Yep.
Fall under hemp, right? Okay.
Yep.
What advice could you give to other healthcare providers interested in learning more about cannabis for patient care? Because I know we're going to have bunch of people in Kentucky trying to do this and getting signed up. So what can you tell them?
Yeah. So I think that, if healthcare professionals are interested in learning, that's amazing because there aren't enough of them. And so far it's been mostly nurses who have been interested in taking the reins and, done our work of going to learn about cannabis and how it works. And like doctors are still burying their heads in the sand saying, oh, I can't talk to you about it. But like education has never been illegal. We can always educate our patients. But in terms of like where they can go, I started my education with healer.com. Dr. Justin Sulak is a phenomenal cannabis doctor. Now he's a friend of mine. Like I'll see him next week at this conference. And he has fantastic education modules on his website at healer.com. Bonnie Goldstein. Oh, Bonnie Goldstein just launched her website as well that is specifically for licensed medical professionals. So she puts on monthly webinars and she goes through all of the evidence. She also has a marketplace and she's a world-renowned pediatric cannabis physician. And she's a phenomenal human and will answer whatever questions. So she built her platform and offers it for free because, for so long people are saying people are like refusing to pay for their education. And she's like, okay, well, now I have all of this education here and I'm offering it for free. So you have no excuse. And so that's like some of the best quality education. And then these two are also teaching at CanMed, the medical cannabis conference happening in Puerto Rico. That's my favorite medical cannabis conference. It is a bit pricey, but it's worth it to be able to go and learn and connect with top professionals in the space like this. And just connecting and showing up and start teaching people and trying things on people. And, you learn as you go and you see what works for different people.
You mentioned nurses. The cannabis nursing is a recognized specialist or specialization, or specialty, right?
Yeah.
For what association was it? ANA?
Yep. The
Or
American
AMA?
Association recognized cannabis nursing as an official specialty. I think that was at the end of 2023 they did. So there's not a certification exam yet. So if people say they're a certified cannabis nurse, that doesn't hold a lot of weight because there's not an official certification yet. But it is an official specialty now, which means that like nurses don't have any excuse not to learn this information either. And soon there will be, we're not there yet because I think we need to see Schedule 3 before we see this. There aren't a whole lot of like cannabis nursing positions inside existing healthcare systems yet because they're so afraid they're going to lose federal funding because of Schedule 1, which is not true, but they're afraid.
Yeah. Okay, finally, where can listeners go to learn more about what you got going on?
Yeah, so the best place where people can go to learn like in real time is social media. I'm all over social media as Trusted Canna Nurse, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. What's the
I see
new
you on
one?
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm all over LinkedIn.
I'm really pleased with LinkedIn being so favorable to the cannabis community.
Yeah, mostly. I think recently there have been like a number of people getting shut down. But
really?
it is, yeah, which kind of sucks. So we still
Yeah.
have to be a little bit careful. I guess Twitter is cannabis friendly, but Twitter's weird. Twitter's really
It's
weird.
kind of the Wild West right now.
Yeah. And then we're on Facebook and Instagram and those ones too.
Well, good. Glad talking to you. I'm gonna be having he's not a doctor. David Miri, he's from Israel. And he's one of the
Daddy
leading
Mary,
researchers.
so cool.
Yeah. Scheduled to record with him here in a couple of weeks, so that'll be interesting. But maybe we can have you back on here once Kentucky gets rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are a medical state now?
Medical now, yeah. As of January 1st.
Cool.
We don't have products on the shelves or nothing, but we're moving that way. So,
yeah, very cool.
Good talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.